episode again tonight. But before we start, every Friday we're going to have our signature cocktail. It's a Purple People Eater. It's great vodka with Sprite. I had a little bit extra vodka to mine, and Vaughn just has his with the Sprite. But we thank you guys. So we do want to
speak here. Hey, YouTube, Trucking Life Weekend. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you
for joining, all of you. Hey, go ahead, baby.
Tonight was mostly this was the second episode of the Braxtons, and I know you guys have a lot of questions, and so tonight we're going to take the time out to answer a lot of your questions. Last week was hard. Last week was very, very difficult. There were a lot of negative comments. There were a lot of negative people. But one of the honest things about it is that a lot of people are dealing with grief. And the thing for us is, because we know that a lot of people are dealing with the same thing, we want to be able to answer those questions, and we want to be able to talk about it. And even with that being said, I will say one of the biggest questions that I've had throughout, press tours and things of that nature is, how do you deal with your grief? But I do want to make sure people understand that it's okay to not be okay, and your grief can look different than someone else's.
That is so true, so open and honest, and I appreciate you for sharing.
And that's okay, too. And people will say whatever they want to say. Mm-hmm. They will have comments about it. Oh my gosh, you're not crying enough. Oh my gosh, you're crying too much, or you're a recluse, or you are separating yourself from others. But if that's the way you deal with it, that's the way you deal with it. And that's okay. Okay. So with that, we're going to open up the question portion of what we're doing today. And I do want to say this. No one has said it yet so far tonight, but it has been an ongoing statement for the past month prior to us doing the Braxtons, and even in the episodes that have just been aired. Our sister is not a platform. Tracy is not a platform for me. She is my sister still. Even though she has passed, she is still my friend. She will always be my friend. And for those persons who have something negative to say, just don't come on my page. I would rather you unfollow me. I'm okay with it. I'm not on here for likes. I'm not on here for followers. I'm on, and my husband is my support system for those who don't get it, for those who understand, but I don't even care. But our point is to help that someone, or those someones who are going through a grief process and they just want somebody to talk to. Maybe they're afraid to talk to a grief counselor. Maybe they're not ready to talk to a grief counselor. But I'm here to tell you it's okay to talk to a grief counselor. Yes, or your pastor, or your aunt, or your uncle, or the person next door. And that's what we're here for. Mm-hmm. We're not here for anything else. We're not here for your likes.
You help one person, you've done your job.
Mm-hmm. We're here to help that one person that needs help. Mm-hmm. So here we are.
And I want to address something. A lot's been said that it's like people will wait until my wife's family makes a decision and then petition for the opposite. So if, let's say, for instance, they chose to start the show and just go back to business as usual, then people would have said, well, you're not speaking about Tracy. You're not paying homage to Tracy. You don't care about Tracy. You don't love her enough. And then when they decide to do it, and they didn't really decide to do it, it was the only decision to be made. I'll get into that. But when they decide to do it, it's, oh, you're trying to capitalize on your sister. But people that say that, and Jen, just start getting people off of this immediately.
No, that's right.
It's, I mean, don't even give them a chance. Just go. Blocked for good. But people forget. It's like they forget the genre of television that they're watching, and it's reality television. This is the reality. They're down a sister, and there are real feelings. And I'm glad that the rawest of feelings weren't depicted in front of a camera, because it
I don't think they see you in frame.
That's okay. It's okay.
And they heart hurting.
We need to see you. I'm glad that enough time had passed so that, we went for over a year where my wife would say Tracy and just start crying. She couldn't get through a full conversation. So the time was needed.
I was so senseless and understandable.
For them not to address the elephant in the room would be remiss. And like I said, they talk about it every day. So what you're seeing are glimpses of what they actually talk about. So for you to say that they're doing it to get likes or for income or whatever, that's silly, because if you're ever lucky enough to see and to sign one of these contracts for a show like this, you'll understand
it's not beneficial like that.
They have access to a good part of your life, and if you sign the contract, that means everything. So I think that my wife's family is doing as good a job as they're capable of at the time. And if you don't like it, just turn it off. But for those of you out there who see a similarity in your family, which is almost everyone, because everyone's lost someone, they're doing it for you.
And I do want to interject for just a moment. There has been a lot of people who's come in my DMs that come on to our live podcasts or broadcasts, and they have lost loved ones, mother, father, sister, brother.
You should see. There's people each of them.
Yeah. To each of them, I am so sorry for your loss, because I knew what it feels like. So to each and every one of you, I cannot address you all individually, but I'm sorry for your loss. I understand your grief. I understand that it's not always easy to move forward as you try to move on. It's very, very difficult. And for those who, the naysayers, and for the ignorant people, I pray for you. And even if you guys have gone through that loss, I pray for you too.
And continue.
Because it's not an easy struggle.
And it's not.
It's a whole lot. And not everybody is ready for the same thing at different times in their lives.
They're not.
People have to take grief on at the moment they're ready to. And it's not going to, and you can't say to one person that they should grieve the way you're grieving, or at the same time that you're grieving.
Amen.
Vaughn, if I may, Vaughn saw grief very differently for himself when his father passed on. And his grief was not the same as some of his family members. And if I may, he, I won't say judged.
Oh, I did. I judged.
But because certain family members didn't grieve as hard as he felt like they should have, or the way he felt like they should have, it was a problem for him. And if you would, Vaughn, please speak on that. As much as you can.
Well, I mean, she's passed on now, so she knows this. I said it to her, and I got hit with her cane. But so when my father passed, he passed 9 years ago, because I was 47. So yeah, 9 years ago. And it hit me hard because my dad was my hero. And I tell people that having your father as your hero is a great thing because, you know, he was there and he portrayed all of these different things for you. But the danger in it is that father and your hero in the same day. So I called my father, you know, when I didn't understand things. My dad was a science guy, you know, technical guy. So if I driving down the street and I didn't understand how something worked, I would call my dad, he'd have an answer. And it was well over a year before I stopped picking up the phone to call him when I wanted an explanation to something. But the overall point is that it was very hard for me, harder than I knew it'd be hard, and it was harder than that. But I did not think that my mother was as sad as I felt she should have. That was unfair to me. It was also childish, but I'm a kid, you know, looking at my dad and my mom. And so, you know, no matter how old I got, no matter how old they got, I was still their kid, and that was my place. And so even though I was a grown man at 47 years old, I still had a very adolescent response. But I also, because I was living my life, as was my brother, I wasn't there for the day-to-day. I saw the pain, but I didn't see the extent of it that my mother did. And so, you know, when he was gone, to me, it felt like she was relieved, and I was angry about that. I was very angry about it. And so I was raised not to yell at my mother, but we were talking and I raised my voice and she just let me have it. And well, the first thing she did is she hit me right here, and it's still sore, with her cane. And she told me that, she said, "Little boy, it is not your place to tell me how I felt about your father. I was married to him 48 years. But my perspective is, as you get older, you're in pain and all of these things. And I'm thankful that he is no longer in pain." And I said, "I understand that." And when we talked, and it took me another 3 months before I was able to say, "You know what, Mom, I was wrong, and I'm sorry, will you forgive me?" And she did, and we moved on. But the point of it is that so the overall point is the people that are saying what my wife's family should or shouldn't do, you don't have any more of a right to say that than I did to my mom.
Because you don't know that pain.
And if you can lose a loved one and it bothers you 3 days and you go back to work, good for you. To me, that's a little bit cold and heartless. But if that's the way you handle grief, you do that. For the overwhelming majority of people, it's going to take a lot longer. And I just encourage people to feel how you feel respectfully, especially when dealing with your parents. But feel how you feel respectfully, but don't judge other people, because the other thing that everybody on here, me included, you know, when we lose loved ones, I see people, I lost my brother and sister in the same year. I lost my husband. I lost my husband to cancer. When we lost people, I'm talking about us, not them, but when we lost people, it was a family matter. It was private.
It's not the world.
There was no one passing judgment on us. There was no one to see our day-to-day struggles or to see the grief, you know, from an intimate level or counseling or anything like that. And I probably should have gone to counseling. I did not. Neither did my brother. We talked to each other and our mother. But
don't beat yourself up.
For you to pass judgment on the way things are going in my wife's family, that's pretty irresponsible of you. And I'll say it. I'll continue to say it every week that people are negative, because there are a few of you on here. But I wish for you. I like she says she prays for the naysayers. I don't. My wish for you is I wish for you whatever you wish for my wife's family. So good luck with that.
Well, you know, some people may say, you know, we're on television, so they have the right to say however they feel, or be as negative or as positive as they want to be.
Not when it comes to certain things.
And one of the things that people fail to understand and realize is that we are still people.
Someone just said that my siblings and I went separate ways after our oldest sister died.
Oh, no.